All right, this will be a trade recap for, what is today? Wednesday, 28th of January, 2026. Another fun-filled day in the markets. Say back up at all-time highs-ish on both SPY and Qs, Fed rate decision, and all the other fun stuff going on. As we're all probably seeing. So with that being said, let's first talk about coaching and mentoring. I am a student of this gentleman. This is Pat Mitchell. He is a professional day trader, though he originally was in blue-collar work, and he has been in the markets for a little over a decade now, and he has built up a incredible process and knowledge base when it comes to learning how to day trade. He runs a service called Trick Trades. He has also put together inside of Trick Trades a program called SizeUp, and that's what I do. And it is a structured program for learning how to day trade. You start with a small cash account and you basically build that up with your education, experience, and screen time to eventually hit different milestones and become a full-time professional day trader. So if you're interested in something like that, great person, probably one of the highest quality coaches when it comes to day trading out there. If not the highest quality, I don't personally know of any other coaches that I can stand by or say that about, and I've been around a few of them in terms of their services, and nothing even comes close to what Pat offers. So if you're looking for a high quality coach, I cannot recommend him enough. And like I said before, you can find him over at tricktrades.com. He also has a YouTube channel on his own where he posts recaps usually daily. If you want to check that out, you can get a little preview of the kind of information he offers and the quality. And that is just a very, very small amount of the knowledge he possesses. But yeah, definitely check him out. It will be worth your time and effort to go through some of his content and judge for yourself. And with that being said, let's get into the charts. Okay, for today, we have our two tickers, both SPY and Qs as usual. Daily chart here on the left, 1 minute chart here in the middle, order management and execution on the right. These blue levels you see are plotted pre-market, and a trade plan is developed by Pat, our coach, around these levels. And today the main one we were focused on was SPY more than Qs, just because of the way the levels and everything was setting up. Super valid levels and trades, even here at all-time highs for both SPY and Qs. And again, when you're kind of top of range, all-time highs, I usually tend to get a little cautious, not want to use a excessive amount of size. Just be careful, because it's one thing where it can get a little wet and wild. And we had a Fed rate cut decision today, which can throw some volatility in the market, even though a lot of that is just more noise than anything. And once you've traded long enough, you kind of come to realize that. Same with your economic numbers and things like that. Just throw some noise in the market. Your technical levels are still your technical levels. And by the time a lot of that comes out anyway, usually we're done trading. So it doesn't really matter at that point, unless you happen to be holding a very small piece for follow through or just to see what happens. But usually you're not doing that until you built your account up to a decent level and you understand what's going on. Myself personally, like, I'm not really there yet. And usually when I try and do that, I just get myself in trouble. So it's one of those things where I've cut that out. So that being said, SPYs was our main watch. One thing that Pat had discussed, it was discussed back in December, and then he would discuss it again earlier this month was the concept of basically one and done. And what that is basically taking the first trade that triggers based upon the trade plan, and that's it. You take it, you execute it, you manage it, whether it works, it doesn't, one and done, first to trigger, and that's it. And that's a process that you can go through to help improve your discipline, especially if it's lacking. And it is surprisingly hard to not pull the trigger on another trade that might come right into a valid level, be completely legit, and you having the self-control to actually tell yourself no. Believe it or not, it can be a difficult thing. I know it is for me because some of those setups and levels are so valid. Like, I know this thing's going to work out with a high degree of confidence to where you just want to fire off that trade, and to be able to sit there, take your hand off the mouse, say no, you had your one trade, irregardless of how it turned out, that was it. And surprisingly, with the way Pat has built this strategy and really refined it over the years, I can't really state the hit rate on the strategy because you probably wouldn't believe me. And that's understandable. If I was in your position from the outside looking in, I wouldn't believe it if someone told me the percentage hit rate. I would call BS on that almost immediately. So the only way to really prove that would be to, again, join and just see how things are done. And it's a little scary, actually, because of everything you get told of how difficult, or it's always a 50-50 or whatever the excuse is. So with that, I'm going to push myself to basically commit to the whole first to trigger, one and done, that's it. So on that note, I took only one trade today, and that was on our main watch SPY. So I'll pull the entries up. So the first one to trigger was this short up here that we were watching, and that was created basically off this trend level. So we had pre-market, we were just kind of chopping along as we were coming to open, immediately pop into it. So got in my starter, actually approached, got in the starter, hit it, added the other piece of my starter, came through and added for, again, the last time. You could have been a little more patient on the add. And another thing about this whole first trigger one and done thing, I'm limiting myself to a max of 3 contracts, but I'll give myself a range of 1 to 3. Is that the max I'm allowed to trade in the SizeUp program that I'm currently doing? No, not even close. But for right now, I'm going to do that for at least 2 weeks, probably going to do it for a full month, just so we have some transparency there. So came in, started coming down. Probably could have paid myself a little bit sooner there. I came right to the level, and that's more or less where I sold my first one. Came through, sold the second one, and held for a little bit on the third. Now, as it was, again, getting sucked up here, being cautious, because, again, this item, okay, there's definitely some buying and selling. There's interest here. So where it's going to go, anybody's guess. Pop through and then got sold off again back below the level, which was a really good sign, and then just turned and basically sold right off. At that point in time, we're coming back into the open. So I perfect time, good solid target, and took that one off right there. So very good, very happy with the process of trade. It's one of those things where, really, again, then bounced back up, came back above, came back through. So again, it was just messing around to the level, and there's a decent amount of volatility. But again, from here to here, more or less, we'll see what that is. So that's 97.70. So so 75, 80 cents, which on options, again, if you capture a good chunk of this range, I mean, that is, even with 3 contracts, that's still a healthy trade. There's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty good. It's one of those things where with this strategy, again, it seems like not a whole lot, especially when you're only doing a few contracts, to people that maybe are used to slinging more size than they should. Again, strategy is very scalable. So over time, as you build up your account and you're allowed to trade with more size, you're comfortable with trading more size, you're more disciplined with trading more size. Again, these 50 cents to $1 kind of trade ranges on options are more than enough to pay your bills. More than enough. So see here, basically finish that trade off in 7 minutes of the open. So done trading within 10 minutes, which is great because it's one of those things where you get in the habit of being done. It's like now you can sit back, watch, learn. That's what we do. Especially if you're taking this approach of just doing one and done at that point in time. Just watch and learn, absorb. Pat's on screen here giving live lessons while this is going on and dissecting price action and all this kind of stuff. So instead of having to focus on managing like a trade that you're in or trying to execute, you can now focus on the information he's putting out there and you can apply it to the price action instead of being distracted by what's going on in this trade, and how you're managing it and all that stuff. So again, that is what I'm going to do. One and done, first to trigger, 1 to 3 contracts for at least 2 weeks, if not 30 days, and then reassess there. And maybe if, again, goes well and I'm committed and consistent and I stick to one and done, start just trickling in a little bit of size. And again, you just kind of got to go through that process and work myself basically to where I, again, start to feel some emotional involvement to where it's like, okay, why are you getting emotional with this size or this certain size? And then fine tuning from there and kind of getting over that hurdle. So yeah, pretty good day in the market. Pretty straightforward. I'm happy with the day, happy with the trades. And yeah, that's all I got. If you're looking for high-level coaching, mentorship, live education, and all that kind of stuff from someone who knows what they're doing, they don't claim they know and demonstrate it on a daily basis live, check out Pat Mitchell over at tricktrades.com. Also check out his YouTube channel over at Trick Trades. You can get a taste of the kind of information he provides. And again, it's one of those things where just the tip of the iceberg. You'll on the inside, it's like drinking from the fire hose at times. But again, the information there is top notch in quality. And a lot of it, again, they're video lessons. So you get to watch them, rewatch them, absorb them. And again, refine your skills, gain your experience, and become a consistent and profitable trader through his strategy and all the work he has done. But yeah, with that said, have a good evening, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow for the next one.